Okay, Bjorn, welcome. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Thank you for your time. This will probably be a very, very important and interesting episode because we're going to talk about one of the biggest scams in the crypto space, maybe in the world as well. So let's start from the beginning. Who are you and why are you so involved in crypto scam space?
So, like you said, my name is Bjorn Bjercke. Thank you very much for having me. I got involved with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, especially back in 2000. Well, I was nibbling on it in 2012 and then seriously in 2013. So I've been in the space for a while. And I've been very focused on what is blockchain compared to what is Bitcoin software. As you and your listeners know, there is no mention of a blockchain in the Satoshi white paper. So there's been very hard. And then when you add on distributed ledger on top of that, then I get completely confused about what you're talking about. So should we dive right into OneCoin or?
Right, so you get involved in crypto pretty early on compared to most people. You wanted to understand the technology behind it. You read the Bitcoin white paper. You realized that okay, there is no blockchain in the white paper, but still many people talked about blockchain, DLT, things like that. So how did you get involved with OneCoin? How do you connect that, your journey just learning, and OneCoin?
So I was very loud on social media about cryptocurrency in general, especially on LinkedIn, because I really wanted to work in this space and not just run companies by myself, but rather get it more mainstream. And in October of 2016, or September, late September 2016, I got a phone call from a recruitment company in Japan.
All right.
And they had read my profile and followed me for a while and gotten my name from their sources. And they seemed really interested in me taking on a global CTO position at a company in Bulgaria. And at first I asked, well, which company is this? And they were very hesitant about telling what company it was talking about. However, they offered me, a handsome salary, a car, an apartment in both Bulgaria and in London, and said, you're the absolute right guy for this job, and we really need you. And I was okay.
And at that time you were living in Norway, correct?
Yes.
And you were writing blog posts, you were talking about crypto, you wanted to get involved, then you get a call from Japan, this recruitment company. They want you to pitch a job in Bulgaria. But things start to seem shady because they don't want to tell you which company, and they offer you a lot of things without really telling you exactly who you're gonna be working for.
That's correct. So I ask, well, what will my job be like? What are things that I have to do for this company? And he goes on about telling about that it's a cryptocurrency company that has had a coin for quite some time, but right now they don't have a blockchain. So my first job would be to build a blockchain. And get the coin on the blockchain. And I was like, well, how are they running the coin right now? And he was explaining, he wasn't saying SQL straight out, but he was saying, he was talking about databases and Microsoft and how it really seemed to me that he didn't have a clue about the technology. He didn't understand what was going on.
Right, so this recruiter has no clue about tech. He says to you that, okay, there is this cryptocurrency, they're running a centralized database like SQL, and now they're taking the step forward and they're gonna now build a blockchain, which is completely backwards and definitely sounds like a big scam. So what happened next? What was the next step?
So I said, well, I'm super interested in helping this company out. I need to know what the company name is. And he finished off by saying, well, it's a company called OneCoin. And I knew the rumors. I hadn't followed OneCoin much at that time, so I couldn't say for sure. But I heard some rumors that OneCoin was a scam and not to be trusted. I said, okay, let me think about this over the weekend and I'll get back to you on Monday. Over the weekend, I had some talks with my friends and people in the community, and they were like, Bjorn, stay away from this, stay away from this. And I was thinking, well, maybe I can help this company out. Maybe they can become legit with my help. Maybe I can build them a blockchain. I could fork the Bitcoin code and redo a bunch of stuff. But of course, there's been a lot of transactions already. So how do I incorporate that into a new blockchain, which is, as we know, completely impossible because the Coinbase is there is no coin. It's just transactions, right?
But so what really struck me as odd is that these guys, OneCoin, they were one of the biggest scams before 2017. So for all of you guys who are watching, you probably know BitConnect, but this is before BitConnect. They really started before it. And so they have millions and millions of dollars. There are so many people investing in this scam, which we will explain it later on in this video as well, exactly how it works. But why not just hire a guy and actually build it on a blockchain? Like build an ERC20 token or something, so at least it's not complete scam out of the gate, like when you look at the technology that is just a centralized database. Because when you say it's a centralized database, everyone knows that it's a scam. But if you say that, hey, but we still have our blockchain and it's centralized, but still there is some DLC stuff going on, it's easier to hide the scam, no? So why are they not doing that from the beginning?
Well, I think they really wanted to be as close to Bitcoin as possible. They wanted to they basically said we're the Bitcoin killer. So we're exactly like Bitcoin but better. So they were hiding the fact that they were centralized at that point.
Yes, but I wonder, why don't they just create a blockchain from the start? Like they create their own coin that they control, but it is still like using the Bitcoin software, and it would be more difficult for someone from the outside to recognize that it is a scam if they actually invested like 100K, even less, maybe 20K is enough to hire a developer to actually build this blockchain quickly. But it is still centralized, they still can control, they can still do exactly what they have done with their SQL database, but at least it is looking more legit from the outside.
Well, you got to remember the community back in 2016, before the big 20,000 in Bitcoin and before the biggest hype that we've seen so far. So there wasn't many developers out there. It wasn't like you could just go to any consulting house and say, give me your best blockchain developer. Right now I'm working at one of Norway's biggest consultant companies, and I'm their top guy on blockchain, and number two is
right.
I do most of my work is teaching.
Yeah, so I can recognize that in the past it would be difficult to get a blockchain developer. So instead of even deploying some kind of coin, they just said, okay, we're gonna do a centralized database. It's a token that we're gonna pretend is decentralized, but it's not. We're gonna say we're the Bitcoin killer. Then finally they thought about, okay, maybe we should hire someone to actually build the blockchain, and then they tried to hire you.
So actually, two other people in Europe have contacted me and said they were also approached by the same Japanese recruitment company. So there were a couple of us. I suspect there were more than the three of us, but those are the three that I know about, myself and the two others. But I really felt that they were trying to offer me the job, and Monday morning I decided to call back and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I kept this quiet for quite a while, up until Christmas, when I was at my parents' cabin and they had lots of guests over, and we were talking about cryptocurrency, and I was promoting Bitcoin and Ethereum and trying to get people involved. And one of the people there, I remember distinctly saying, I'm never going to get involved with crypto because there's just so much scams out there.
Right.
This is the number one hindrance of crypto going mainstream. And that worried me a lot. What can I do about that as a community member?
And also we need to remember how big it was. Even in Sweden and all across the world, people were involved in OneCoin in one way or another. And actually, an important thing to mention is that mostly people who have no clue about crypto, because OneCoin guys, they don't target crypto audience. They don't want people who actually know what they're talking about. They only target people who are outside, they have no clue. So when you are within the crypto community, sometimes you don't recognize how big these scams are because you never hear about them, because they never try to advertise it to you. They never go after you. But then you see these conferences and these events and these gatherings that they have, kind of like BitConnect conferences as well, we saw in 2017. And there are thousands and thousands, if not millions of people worldwide.
Well, you're touching on the biggest criticism that there is to OneCoin. That is an email that was posted in one of the FBI files that have now been made public between Ruja and Sebastian Greenwood, where Ruja says, please do not go after tech-savvy people. They're too smart for this. We only need to deal with the idiots.
And to clarify, who is Ruja for people who don't know?
So Ruja is the front face of OneCoin. She is the main person in charge, the main person that is always related to. She calls herself Dr. Ruja. I have still not seen any documents that prove that she's a doctor. I've seen many forged documents pointing that she might have a doctorate in law, but we've checked those out, and there's no merit. Those are forged.
Right. So she's the front woman, and she emailed this message basically saying, "Do not target technical people." To whom? Who is this other guy?
Sebastian Greenwood was the number 2 guy in the OneCoin network, the One Life network, and one of the biggest promoters. He was basically in charge of all the independent marketing agents, IMAs, which are selling OneCoin around the world.
All right. So these two people are the top guys, and you also mentioned One Life. This is kind of the community, and this is the only way to buy tokens, right? There is no market for these coins. Although if you listen to their presentations, they always say that we're number 2 behind Bitcoin. Here's our market cap, but there's actually no free market. It is just that you buy tokens from their website, and that's it. And then the people hope that they can sell later. Can you explain more how it works?
Yeah. So you don't really buy tokens. What happens is that you buy an educational package, which is a PDF of plagiarized material, and then there's I believe there's 7 or 8 layers of education packages, and depending on how big a package you want, you get some free mining tokens, they call them. For instance, buying one package for, I believe the lowest package you can buy is 120 euros. and you get one educational package and some mining tokens. These mining tokens you have to set into the mining system, and you wait for about a month and a half, I believe, and then you get OneCoin from that. So most people weren't even interested in the educational packages. They just wanted these mining tokens.
Right, and the educational package is only there, sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's only there to basically say, but you didn't buy tokens, you bought educational package. So we have no responsibility about tokens. I mean, we're selling education. We're an educational company, not a token company.
And it's, talking to different members of One Life, nobody's read the educational package. Nobody's interested in the educational package.
Yeah.
I mean, if they did, they would see. I mean, I did a statistical analyst of it and did some work on the educational package 1 through 5. And for instance, the word OneCoin never shows up in the whole educational package. Words like blockchain showed up 10 times maybe. Cryptocurrency or digital currency showed up maybe 50 times. But there's a segment in the first package where they talk about different coins like Ethereum and Bitcoin, but also Bitcoin, which was a previous scam of Sebastian Greenwood and Ruja Ignatova that they had done before in 2000.
Interesting.
14, 13. So
yeah. So
they're
selling
a lot about how Bitcoin was the big thing back in China, and no one's ever heard of it.
Yeah. So I mean, scam reincarnation is definitely something that we see all the time, and still today we see Plus Token just recently exit scammed. We see Cloud Token right now being registered in Australia, and a lot of other scamsters are constantly being reincarnated. And so, just summarizing what we've discussed. You were contacted by this agency to work. You recognize that it is basically a scam because they're selling educational packages and then they get some tokens, but mostly people are after the tokens, but the tokens cannot be traded anywhere. You can just kind of mine with them, but it's fake mining, it's no real mining. And so they're selling this dream about the big cryptocurrency that will kill Bitcoin and is gonna grow, and they're actually getting millions and millions of dollars invested in these educational packages, but really it's all about the coins. People want the coins. What is the next step? Because I know you have been investigating this a lot and you've been really digging deeper. What was the next step for you when you said, okay, I'm not gonna work at this, and then you heard at your parents' cabin that people talked about crypto scams being the biggest barrier to entry for normal people?
Yeah. So this is where it all really started, was a blog entry on LinkedIn, which was written by someone in, I believe, Slovenia, which stated that OneCoin is far superior to Bitcoin, and here is why. And there was a lot of reasons, and it was completely bullshit. And there was a lot of messages on the board already. And I started commenting saying, you guys are fools, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And then I wrote a message that OneCoin had tried to contact me, and they admitted that there is no blockchain. I think it's a SQL server with maybe some scripting mining, or I don't know what they're doing. And this triggered a major response, and I was contacted by some anonymous. I would call them hackers, and they told me or asked me if they could put me in contact with Tim Curry, or Temptation is his handle, on
Telegram.
Yeah, on WhatsApp and Telegram. And then I got in touch with Tim later that same evening. This was in winter break 2017, so mid-February 2017. And I had a long 4-hour talk with Tim about everything, and he explained that he had been looking at OneCoin since the beginning, and he was 100% sure that it was a fraud, and that one of the missing links to prove it was about the blockchain. Do they have a blockchain or don't they have a blockchain? And I said, for sure, they don't have a blockchain, or at least they didn't have it in October when they contacted me. And he's interested. He said that was very interesting because Ruja Ignatova, Dr. Ruja, was on stage in somewhere in Asia, starting the new blockchain and doubling everyone's coins.
Right. I actually saw it on YouTube. You can find it, this presentation.
Yeah. That was the 1st of October.
Yeah, so she's on stage announcing that we're gonna have this new blockchain, it's gonna be 10 times better than Bitcoin, everyone getting free coins, you guys are amazing. All the investors, like, I mean, all of these guys who know nothing, but they're so pumped, they all love her, they are all convinced that this is gonna change the world. And also, I think here's the sad part, because it's easier to scam people than to convince them that they have been scammed, because they so truly want to believe that it is true, and they have invested, they have emotions, they have financial investments in it. So that is maybe the hardest thing to do, to actually convince people to realize, man, you have been scammed.
So that was a major bells ringing moment for me, because she was on stage 1st of October, and that was the exact same time they were interviewing me and trying to get me on board to build them a blockchain. So I knew for a fact that they didn't have a blockchain, at least that they weren't at that exact time. And if you look at the video and especially pay attention to Ruja's body language, you can tell that she is lying out of her teeth, and she's afraid of getting caught. And you can totally tell it in her body language.
And just for reference, guys, I will try to find it and put it in the description so you can see when she announces the blockchain, when it's not even there, and they only then reached out to Bjorn to build the blockchain.
Yeah. This is really funny too, because she says, and you should put this in, that she is mining the Genesis block.
All right. Pronunciation, right. Genesis block, but she's like Genesis.
So this was a major thing for me, and Tim had already some contacts with authorities, and he asked if he could give my name to the authorities, and then I was basically contacted by German police and flown to Germany to talk to them about it.
Sorry, I think it's important to highlight here that it is truly international, and I know in Sweden many people are involved. We're involved, at least as investors, believing in it. Germany, you also had this BBC podcast, which you can also guys find in the description. You had this guy from Africa creating a whole song about it, so it was truly worldwide. And I think law enforcement was involved in many countries, but the one that you got in touch with was Germany.
Yeah. So in my self-protection, I also reached out to the Norwegian financial police, and they helped me sort out information to other authorities around the world. So it became very closed at that point, and that's the reason why I'm sitting here today. Is much of this information I haven't been able to talk about because it's been a closed investigation. And it still is at certain points. There's a bunch I can't talk about when it comes to authorities around the world. But what I can say is, Tim also at the exact same time was working with a promoter, IMA in Scotland called Jen McAdam, trying to convince her that this was a scam.
And just to clarify, these local promoters are basically people who organize the meetups. They do community. They spread the OneCoin scam in the region, and they're kind of being ambassadors for it. These are this independent marketing. What is called marketing ambassador.
So Jen at the time was medium high up the chain. She had collected about £250,000 from OneCoin. And was sincerely involved in this without knowing that it was a scam. Tim asked her to contact the police in London to ask them, and she did, and she got a shock because the police in London said at the time that they believed that this was a scam and she should cease and assist her activities. So she started a support group for the members that she had recruited, and she did this by holding a Zoom meeting. Tim told me about the Zoom meeting, and this is a video that has gone completely viral. I think it has like 13,000 views, where I explain about the people behind.
Interesting. And that can also be found on YouTube. Can I find it? Because I haven't seen it. So there's this Zoom meeting going on where this local promoter has realized that it's a scam, and now she's assembling all her people that she recruited and basically explaining to them that they have been scammed.
Mm-hmm. We then organized ourselves, Tim, Jen, and myself, and I guess Jen was getting to grips that this was a scam, and she wanted to focus on the victims and see what kind of victim support she could get, and started a group with 13 members, I believe, which was the initial start of the victim support group on WhatsApp. And it has now grown into 7,000 members. And this is where most of our information has come in and also leaked out, which is the basis for the BBC podcast that is currently going on.
All right. So you're in touch with Sim, with Jen. You're coordinating victims. You're trying to get information to law enforcement. What happened then? What is the next step in the story?
So we're getting to about April 2017 here, and there's being mentioned that the white paper on the OneCoin blockchain is going to be released for the public. On an event in Macau, the 5th of May, I believe it was, or maybe it was the 7th of May. Also, there's a newspaper called the Gerlash Report, which had mentioned that the police in Hong Kong was going to take down all of OneCoin at the event in Macau. So there was basically two major things happening: the white paper and the takedown of OneCoin. And so we started promoting that the event is gonna probably go down. But at the same time, this Gerlash report, I don't know where they find their information, but a lot of what's been written about OneCoin, even though they're negative towards OneCoin, a lot of the information there doesn't seem to pan out and is maybe made up. I don't know what they're doing.
So they published an article basically saying that the Hong Kong police is gonna take down OneCoin at the event in Macau where the white paper should be released, but that wasn't true. Or what do you mean? What kind of information they published that wasn't true?
Well, it didn't happen. So I don't know if this is the Gerlash report's fault or their source, they had a bad source, or what's going on. But the Gerlash report keeps on posting information that is not reliable.
Right, and that is about the police, that nobody really came to Macau to arrest the OneCoin organizers.
Exactly.
Right. And also, just before we move on, so because as I understand, now you've been organizing for quite some time. You have team, you have Jen, you have a group. Don't you hear anything from OneCoin? They don't try to shut you down. They don't try to offer you money to shut up or do something and not expose them anymore. Because obviously, if they are bringing in millions, they can give you 1 million and then you're happy, they're happy. And they didn't try to do that?
No, they tried with Tim. They offered him some money, but Tim said, "No, this is too big, and you can't afford shutting me up."
Right.
They didn't try with me because they knew that I had spilled the beans. Blockchain is the key here to proving that it's a scam. And there's no way to go back on it. I cannot, go out and say that, I was mistaken. There was a blockchain after all.
Yeah.
This would be disproven within minutes. So basically, we kept on spreading the message, and we get a hold of the OneCoin white paper, and in the first line of the white paper, it says, blockchain. The word coined by Satoshi Nakamoto in the white paper, Bitcoin peer-to-peer.
Yeah. And there is no such mention. Yeah.
No, that word does not exist in that paper. So I didn't even want to read the rest of that white paper. I was like, oh, this is complete bullshit. So, we kept on going, but we were getting pressured, especially this one guy in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm not going to mention his name, but he was making videos trying to expose us and trying to make up stories around Tim and myself. And Jen
and he was an investor who tried to protect his investment, or he was part of OneCoin core team.
I believe he was an IMA, but because he was so aggressive, I think he got on the payroll for OneCoin. So there's plenty of YouTube videos out there, especially criticizing me for saying that the OneCoin event is going to be canceled in Macau, which I was just relating to the Gerlosh article, So I suddenly found myself getting sued by OneCoin.
Interesting.
Jen got sued, and Tim also got sued, but he got sued through another connection of OneCoin in the US, because OneCoin does not have an open web page. It got closed in the US. There's several other connections in the US that are connected to OneCoin. So he was sued by one of their subsidiaries, if you can call it that.
But they did not try to threaten you. It's not like they gave you threats or physical damage or people showing up at your house or anything like that. Just they were quiet and then suddenly a lawsuit. That's it, up until now.
So there were threats. There were a lot of threats. Not directly life-threatening threats, but a lot of we're going to find you and we're going to have our way with you, stuff like that. So I ended up moving apartments, not once, but twice, to hide myself and make sure that, nothing would happen to me or my closest people. So I live at a hidden address right now because of this. So it hasn't been easy by any means, and the amount of time we have spent on this tracing down leads and tracing down the right information has taken a toll.
I can imagine, because I remember we met in 2017, and already then you were talking about that you're working with exposing OneCoin, and you sent me some material, and that was, I mean, over 2 years ago, and still you're working on this. So yeah, I can imagine that's taking a lot of energy, time, and also, you know, personal worries, and of course money. Like I can imagine you spend money on this as well with lawsuits and all of this. But you get the lawsuit. What happened then? What is the next step?
Well, I get into a very bad situation with my my law firm, as they had represented or written a testament to OneCoin at a very earlier stage. They didn't even know about it. I was the one that figured it out and showed it to them. And it wasn't the Norway office. It was an office outside of Norway, but still they came back to me and said, "We're unable to represent you for free, and we're unable to represent you at all." So
because they supported OneCoin. OneCoin were their clients in the past, or
yeah. So this is one of the. So the great scammers, the really, really good ones, which I believe this company is ranks up there. They try to find some little piece of information about their company. In this case, it was the educational packages, and they go out to thousands of law firms all over Europe, and probably all over the world, and say, "Can you read this educational package and tell me that it's sellable? Is it legal to sell?"
All right.
And law firms, they'll take their $1,000 to read a document and say, "Okay, I read the document. It seems like there's some educational knowledge in here, and here you go. Here's a piece of paper from us saying that this is educational material." This is not saying that anything about selling it through a MLM construct or combined with cryptocurrency or anything like this is legal. It just says that the educational material is education.
Okay, and so that law firm that you started working with in the beginning, they did this statement for OneCoin. Sorry, I just get from this. We're gonna cut. So, all right. So that law firm that you started working with, they did this educational assessment for OneCoin's educational packages, and then they recognized it, and then they told you, okay, but it doesn't look good on us that we are now involved in this, and they basically said we don't want to do anything with this case.
Yeah, because the scammers in this case, OneCoin, know that if they have that piece of paper, they have seniority over so many law firms around Europe that no one can sue them back, because you can't get a hold of a lawyer that hasn't, done some small little thing for them.
All right. So they had a lot of law firms doing these statements for them. And obviously, the law firms then cannot support you or anyone else trying to get OneCoin, because then OneCoin will tell that, hey, you said it's okay in the past. But so why can they make the case and say that? But you misled us. Like, this is not what it's not about education. It's about the coin. Couldn't the law firms just make that case that, okay, we made the statement about education, but like it's a whole other story now. It's about the coin now.
They're already a client. So if they're a client, if they have paid a law firm, they're a client of the law firm. And if I go to the same law firm days later or hours later, for that matter, I cannot use that law firm to go against OneCoin because they're a previous client.
Interesting. So I didn't know, but this is basically a rule that all law firms follow. They don't go and sue their own clients.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to start a scam, you send a letter to all law firms you could ever think of and say, "Can you check that my name is really Bjorn Bjercke?"
Right.
Then I'm a previous client. So then they can never go against me.
Just because they have this codex, like their internal policy, because it's not some kind of law or anything, just
yes,
internal policy.
It is a law.
It is a law. Okay.
So a law firm can never, or they can. It's called seniority. They cannot go against previous clients of the law.
Okay, so that is what you meant when you said. Okay, I didn't know it. So seniority is that law firm cannot go against previous clients, and now you're finding yourself in a position that you're being sued by OneCoin, but you cannot find anyone who can represent you because they all have OneCoin as clients.
Exactly. So I managed to find one, which was an absolute angel. He works in the high courts in Europe, and he wrote the letter for me stating in the first sentence that Bjorn Bjercke has the freedom of speech. So this goes against the Norwegian law, law number 1, and the European law number 10. So
what goes against? The fact that nobody wants to represent you. Is that what is against?
No, freedom of speech.
Or but in what way are you being? But in what way are you being hindered?
As a private person, you can say whatever you want about a company. The company will claim defamation, but you have the full rights as you have. If you have some basis for a claim, you can say whatever you want as publicly as you want. That goes under the Freedom of Expression Act. And it's up to the listener to decide if you're talking bullshit or if there is any merit to what you say.
But there's still defamation, that you can still sue people for defaming you, right? So that is what they're doing.
Defamation has to do with that you have forged a document or. Right. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the exact definition. But defamation is extremely hard to kind of prove.
All right. So this lawyer could make a case that, at the end of the day, it's just freedom of speech. It's nothing to do with defamation. All of these facts kind of also make sense, and it's up to the listener.
But he did add, there is a lot of criticism, not from Bjorn, even from other governments and authorities around the world. Here are the links, and he listed about 40 links to web pages that criticize. So, and then I think we did something extremely smart at the end, which was add a couple of questions back. Where is OneCoin registered? It's not registered in Norway. Who is the board of directors? Where do you have your financial license? Where is there any organizational license and so on? Do you have an educational license? Blah, blah, blah. And I could tell that the lawyer on the other side did not like this, but he went ahead anyway. And of course, the court system just tossed the case out because they have no understanding of what's going on here.
Because he couldn't get the information. He couldn't get anything about the company or any board of directors or anyone really.
I think the court systems were more about, we don't understand what blockchain is, so how can we do a ruling if this is defamation or not?
But they can't call in an expert or can't call in an industry insider, but maybe it was hard at that time, I guess.
Well, I have gotten a message later, at a later date, that if anyone else was sued, they might have taken the case, but then they would use me as a specialized witness.
Okay. Right.
So, I work closely with the legal community here in Norway, so I know my way around.
Right. So you're being sued, then the case is being tossed out, and the scam still continues. That's important to highlight. It still continues all across the world. It doesn't stop just because you're trying to stop them. You have a few tens of people in the WhatsApp group at that moment. It's not like thousands like today. It is the movement is growing. The resistance movement is growing. And what happened then? What was the next step?
Well, I was. I had, many other interests, and especially working with blockchain. So I kind of put the case aside for a while, and started to look at a job in Switzerland, specifically at the EY, Ernst Young in Switzerland. At the same time, this was around fall time in 2017, and there were rumors spreading that Ruja didn't meet up for a conference that she was going to hold, and this was not a big deal. We didn't know why she didn't show up, but yeah, we didn't care too much. And so I kind of lost a little interest, and I was following the support groups and giving information about what I could. Ernst Young, of course, was a little bit scared because at this point there was a lot of web pages posted and videos posted about me that I was a liar and a cheat and had lied about the Macau event and so on and so forth. And Ernst Young couldn't have that, so they requested a lot of information from me and my lawyer and other contacts, authorities around the world, to see if I can be a fit for them. And I got the job in Switzerland and worked there for a while. And then, pretty much all of 2008 came and went. With ups and downs and new things, and then suddenly the brother of Ruja Ignatova, which is Konstantin Ignatov, decided to take a trip to the United States, which was probably not a good idea.
Right. Because they are internationally known basically by law enforcement at that time.
So he had, when you travel to the U.S., you have to fill out the ESA paper or application to get access to the U.S., even if you're a tourist. This is common for all Europeans. And on this piece of paper, you have to write the address at where you will be staying in the United States. And apparently he had put down an address in New York City and suddenly showed up in LAX, Los Angeles.
All right. And so that was a red flag.
So that's why they pulled him aside. And then suddenly, they decided to grab him and figure out what was going on. He's now in jail in the Southern District of New York, waiting his trial. His trial is getting pushed and pushed and pushed. There is also another person called Mark Scott, which has, allegedly has money laundered through OneCoin somehow. And they also managed to grab Sebastian Greenwood.
Interesting. So, but at that time they were looking for OneCoin, right? The law enforcement in the US, they knew the people behind OneCoin, and then they just couldn't figure out how to find them. And then they just traveled themselves to the US. At least the brother of Ruja.
Yeah. A lot of this has to do with jurisdictions. I think, there are definite people in the authorities in the United States who has followed this case closely and know what they're talking about. But they don't have the jurisdiction to go into Bulgaria. They can't do anything there. The German police, however, had one raid on the OneCoin office in January of 2018, where they shut down the machine. This was quite interesting because the visible, I don't know what to call it, a simulator of what they call a blockchain, stopped for 27 days. and transactions went through. We tested with fake accounts that we had made, and transactions had no problem getting through, even though the simulator was just dead. And then the simulator started up again, and still there was nothing. So this was another very, very powerful proof that OneCoin does not have a blockchain.
But so just to clarify, at that time, people across the world are buying these educational packages. They're getting the coins. Aren't they expecting to sell them, or like people need to get a return when they invest? So aren't they asking like when exchange, when Binance, when are we gonna sell it? Like what is the state of that?
So there's always been a promise of that you will be able to sell your coins on an exchange or sell your coins back to the network or something. This deadline has been pushed. The first time I heard it was the exchange is opening in Christmas 2016, and then it was May 2017, and then it was end of summer 2017, and then it was 1st of January 2018, and then it was pushed to April 2018. Now they're saying, the exchange is going to open soon. The exchange is never going to open.
And so you're saying that the OneCoin community is still active, like the scam is still going today, correct?
Oh yeah, in a big way.
Insane, yeah.
There's a lot of people right now, right as we speak, buying into OneCoin for the first time. And I think it's crazy, especially with all the information out on the internet now. If you Google OneCoin, you don't have to look very deep to see, detailed information on why it's a scam. But it's still going. It's still going hard. Maybe not that well in Europe, but in Asia and Africa, it's growing like crazy. We had cases of churches getting involved in OneCoin, and especially then in Africa. And we had one in New Zealand, I believe it was, where the pastor promotes OneCoin.
Wow. Insane. And so who is heading it now? Because the story really ended right now with the fact that Ruja disappeared, this woman who was promoting it. Her brother is in jail. A lot of other guys at the top of the food chain in OneCoin are also in jail. So where is Ruja now, and where is everyone? And who is heading the movement now?
So let's if we backtrack a little about the people that are in jail. It's Mark Scott, it's Sebastian Greenwood, and it's Konstantin Ignatov. Now, we know from the papers that we have received, the transcripts from the court case, that one of them has admitted to wire fraud and money laundering. We know that Mark Scott has not done that, and we know that Ignatov. His name slipped my mind here.
Konstantin, right?
Yeah, Konstantin Ignatov has not admitted to this. So that leaves one person that we don't know, and we know that there's one that has admitted to being a fraud.
All right.
And that is Sebastian Greenwood. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see when.
But I think what stands out with this scam is that they're doing fiat to crypto scam. Like, you need to pay in fiat, which means that it should be easier to track them down because they have bank accounts, they have banks either helping them or just not knowing what is going on. It's not like a scam that only accepts crypto and you get like Bitcoin tokens or whatever. This is a scam that must be coordinated on a bigger scale with banks on board. Yeah.
So there's a big network of anonymous people helping us, the three of us, Jen, Tim, and myself. And one of the things that has been a big focus is shutting down bank accounts. As far as I know, we've shut down 24 bank accounts for OneCoin, and by just calling up the bank and giving them information. And so OneCoin has changed their selling methods. So right now they're using the model that you would use to sell drugs. Basically, they're handing down these packages to downwards in the pyramid, where everybody pays the one above, and then gets a rebate. And then when you get to the final stage, it's the actual price.
All right. So basically, there's this. It's not a company that sells this. It's all of these random people who are part of this pyramid structure, and they're paying each other upwards. And at the end of the day, there's some kind of entity that just receives the money, and then they pretend that it's for some kind of other service. As for example, many people say that pyramid schemes use physical products just for the case of showing that we actually sold the physical product, but it's all about just taking in new money. And yeah, so could you describe it like that, like an MLM kind of scheme?
Yes, and this is fully possible in the world we live in, because we have nation states that basically promote this kind of behavior. We've seen this in China, where it's perfectly legal to scam people from other countries. This is a known way of doing business in many countries, where you are actually protected and you get recognition from the government if you're able to scam something that doesn't hurt your country.
Yeah, as long as you bring the capital into the country, I guess they're happy, and you pay tax. It's all perfectly fine. Yeah. So it has connections to China, or like, how do you mean this is this connected to China, or is it only Bulgaria? What is, like, I'm trying to get an overview, because there are so many parts of this. There are the banks that you're calling, you're shutting them down, but still this whole system continues to work, and you have this MLM structure with different people selling it to other people, recruiting. So how can you kind of describe the whole organization as of right now, as you understand it?
Well, the higher you get up, the more diffused it gets. So, I mean, they have entity in Belize, which was shut down. The Belize government doesn't want anything to do with OneCoin. They have lots of entities in the Arab states. They don't really have anything registered that I know about in Bulgaria. They just have their main office there, but I don't believe anybody's at that office at this point. And of course, they've had massive success eastward in Pakistan first, and towards China, and I believe they have a major success in the Chinese region. Thailand and Indonesia, those places too are affected. There's a big OneCoin push from Australia, so things have even gone there. But I have no clue who is on top and who is receiving the end result here. From all I can see, it's Ruja, and then I have my conspiracy theories on top of Ruja, what's going on there, which I'm not going to get into.
Oh, all right. So we don't really know who is behind this, but Ruja has disappeared. 3 guys are in prison in the US. One of them admitted that he has committed money laundering. He was part of money laundering and wire fraud, scamming, and all of this is still under the development. So what else? What else is happening, and has anything happened since then?
Well, the podcast that BBC has released is telling the full story. In layman's terms, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to come here today and talk to you, because here we can talk a lot more technical.
Right.
But I think the podcast will reveal a lot more. The one running the podcast is Jamie Burlett, And if you Google his name, you will see that he is not. It's not the first time around the block for him. He has been digging in Tor and onion routers and the darknet for a long, long, long time. He knows. He knows the world of the internet in a much broader aspect than most of us do.
Interesting. So that podcast is definitely something I can recommend. It is in the description. They released 2 episodes out of 8, but it sounds really, really amazing because 2 episodes they have already covered a lot. They have already covered that Ruja is gone and that so 6 more episodes gonna be interesting. So what else do they talk about in those episodes?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't think that the 2 last episodes are done yet. They're collecting information right now to find information to put in those 2 last episodes. So this podcast is definitely a dynamic thing, and everything can change. I don't think they'll find any proof that it isn't a scam, but I'm on the edge of my seat listening to it, and I was a big part of it.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting how they put all this together. And they will be talking about, one thing that we haven't mentioned is the deal shaker platform, or what I call the shaky dealer.
So they mentioned it in the podcast that is where this token should be traded, basically.
Yeah. So the deal shaker platform, anyone can be a participant and put goods and services on the deal shaker platform and trade that in for OneCoin or a combination of OneCoin and euros. But when I went into it, I was one of the first advertisements on the deal shaker platform was some bed sheets from China selling at 200,000 euros plus some OneCoin. So this got me thinking, well, I'm not going to buy bed sheets for 200,000 euros. You can buy a house for that.
So it's some kind of eBay-like platform, but that basically OneCoin has done themselves in order to show that, hey, we do have merchants and we do have business going on in OneCoin.
Yeah. There's also a push from the OneCoin network to make artificial traffic to the website. I see in information coming out of the OneCoin groups, still promoting the network. They say, go visit DealShaker 50 times a day so we get traffic. So it looks like the website is visited a lot and so on. So this is, it's all fake. The whole. I mean, as a One Life member, and you have to see that what's going on here. When your promoters are asking you to lie, basically, cause traffic and do all this extra stuff to try to make your coin legitimate. Yes, I know you have an investment, but please. Come on.
Yes, but as we said, it's easier to scam people than convince them that they are scammed, and they will never convince themselves. So unfortunately, that is the case. But what is next? Like, what is next for you? What is next for OneCoin? Like, what do you have any news? What they're planning, and what are you planning? Or are you're finished with this whole story now that the podcast and this episode is out?
Well, the podcast is growing in popularity. Yesterday, it was the top 10 podcast in the UK of all podcasts on iTunes. So that was, the Joe Rogan Experience was in 9th place. So
wow, nice.
That tells you how many people are listening to this. We've talked internally that there might be follow-ups after the podcast is fully released. This could be anything from having a world tour with talks, or making it a book, or we've often talked about this should be a film, because Especially Tim, Jen, and I have said many times, this is more exciting than watching TV or watching a movie.
Right.
And it's, I would suggest if I knew what I was getting into in the beginning, I would never do it. It is addictive, and it is, it's really tearing on my health. Sitting up late nights and working on this. And it never stops. It never stops. I think, I don't think OneCoin will ever shut down. I think it will always be around in some dark corner of the world. And we won't get rid of scams like this. But I think information to people is really important. It's important to know what's going on in the world, and to not be gullible, to be educated. And if you're going to invest in cryptocurrency, you should have some basic understanding of what a blockchain is and how it works. If you don't have basic understanding of cryptocurrency and blockchain, don't put your money into this. Don't.
Of course. And scams always happen when there is a new technology. So when internet came around, there were many scams there, and we saw a whole bubble. The same with crypto. But with crypto, it seems that they keep coming back, because I think it has to do with money. So people are even more easily fooled, especially because it's so easy to tell them a story that sounds good, but there's no way to verify it for somebody who is not technical. All right, Bjorn. I think also the reason why it never will shut down is because it's so global. It's not like one entity. It's a whole network of entities across the world, and it's not clear exactly who to go after and who is really responsible. And Ruja is still under the water. We still don't know where she is, right?
As far as I know, we have no clue where Ruja is. I mean, she is on the FBI wanted list. So she is formally charged, but not to her face, because no one can find her. However, Jamie Burlett says that there might be information in the podcast about where she is. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems like they should have good tracks of her, because they're so intriguing with the podcast. They're saying like we're going on this journey to find her, so they need to have a lot of interesting information, otherwise they wouldn't promote it like that. If they're just like, yeah, we went to Bulgaria, she's not there, and that's it. And I listened to the second episode right now, so they are in Bulgaria. They're checking out her house and her boat, but there's some weird people. It starts to get scary with mafia and stuff, so it seems to be serious people involved at the end of the day. But you haven't faced like any physical threats since then, or you're constantly getting them?
It's so far purely been cyber warfare. So fighting blogs, fighting videos on YouTube. And journalists are approaching me on all different channels. Before OneCoin, I knew about WhatsApp. Now I know Telegram, Signal, other underground chat methods, and a lot is evolving. I would say that if anyone would like to get a hold of me, LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
And so if somebody watches this and they are part of OneCoin and they now realize it's a scam, they should contact you, or they should do something else? What should they do?
Oh, definitely reach out to me, and I can pass your information on to the right person. I think I know all the points of contact. So please just connect to me on LinkedIn and send me a text over LinkedIn, and we'll take it from there depending on what your inquiry is.
Perfect. Bjorn, thank you so much. Guys, you can find all the links in the description, and this was fun discussion, and hopefully we can bring more awareness. Thank you so much, Bjorn.
Great. Thank you, Ivan.